Warning. This program contains strong language, auditory violence, and mental nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised. All right, my furious friends, welcome back for episode 33 of the Unshackled Fury podcast, your uncensored home for all things Warcraft. I'm your host, Berzerker, and with me, as always, is the Sundance Kid to my Butch Cassidy. He is Navox. Welcome back again, sir.
Hey, how's it going, man? This week's been a blur for me, actually.
Some weeks are like that.
Yeah.
What's got you so busy?
Well, I was this week I was in training for I do Microsoft Exchange and stuff like that as a job, and I was in class for training, and it's a boot camp, so you're constantly, you're doing lab work followed by book work, followed by more lab work, followed by book work, answering questions, things like that. And
why are you doing this?
It helps with my certification, so I'm trying to get a certification. Which I got, which is my MCSE. It just helps along, and eventually, hopefully it'll lead to more things down the road for me, promotions and things like that.
Oh, there you go.
It helps out. Yeah, so
professional development, I think they call that.
Professional development. Yeah, exactly. God. So that's about it with me. How did things go with you this week?
It's another hot week here in Northern California. My people from the land of ice and snow are not built for this kind of weather, so I do not like it. One bit, but I will say this is that you and I, this is a little behind the scenes thing. You and I are recording pretty early for us, anyway.
Yeah.
For me in particular, because it's not even 10 a.m. yet, and we've already started this. So I actually had to run out, mow the lawn real quick, and do that at 7 something this morning, which I'm sure the neighbors really enjoyed. But it's also only 70 something degrees at that time of the day, and right now I'm looking at my fancy ass watch that tells me what the temperature is going to be, and it says about 100 degrees today.
Ooh, God, that sucks.
Yeah, we're in the middle of a 2-week stretch, so I love living in California, man. But there are times when you got to hide out in the AC, just a little bit extra.
Yeah. In Florida, we only get to 104. We don't get your house catches on fire. The land around you catches on fire.
Yeah, we've had some fires.
You guys get out there.
There was the county fire, which I could see from my commute home. Pretty nasty stuff. When California, the way this is not a geography podcast, but California has a what they call the Central Valley, and when there's a fire, especially a big one or a couple of them, the entire valley just fills up with smoke, and it's gross, and there's not a lot of rain right now, and you're lucky if we get some wind and maybe it blows some of that shit out to sea, but it can be nasty for a while. But otherwise, week's been good. We're going to talk about what's been going on in game here in just a minute, but pre-patch was certainly big on the agenda this week, and I did get a chance to jump in on that and kind of mess around a little bit, so we'll talk about that in a bit. But there was something else that happened this week that came to my attention while I was having fun with some pre-patch activities that once again has got me fired up, charged up, ready to go. So why don't we jump into our weekly rage segment? Let's rage. So I'm going to go back to the well again on an item that we've talked about way too many times. I've thrown it out there twice. I retracted a statement, and we're going back again to somewhat this tangentially to my complaints regarding the game and physical collector's editions. That's right. I'm doing it again. We're going back.
Okay.
So here's what I've discovered, and it's my own fault for not reading all the way through, I guess, a Wowhead article to discover this information, because it doesn't seem obvious anywhere else. I was in a raid because we were testing out some of our new stuff, and my raid leader was mentioning the fact that part of the pre-launch activities you cannot do unless you've purchased Battle for Azeroth already. And I heard that, and I didn't really think much of it at the time, but I wasn't sure if maybe he misunderstood something or what, because I had not seen that anywhere. I've never heard of us not being able to do some kind of pre-expansion activity because you didn't purchase the expansion yet. It just, something about that didn't seem right, but I didn't really think too much about it at the time. But then a couple of days went by, and I kept thinking about it. And so I messaged him in Discord, and I said, hey, where did you hear this? Did I hear this correctly? Oh, yeah, it was on Wowhead. It was on their Wowhead Weekly or something to that effect. And he sent me the quote. And this is the quote from Wowhead. Quote, the battle for Lordaeron, the Alliance's retaliation for Teldrassil, is only available to players who purchase Battle for Azeroth. Those who purchase BFA can access this content starting on August 6th. So, if I'm reading this correctly, I could do, because as we long know, I have bought the physical collector's edition like I typically do. I have not purchased any of the digital versions yet. But now I'm being told that unless I want to wait, unless I really want to go ahead and be behind when the expansion actually launches, I have to buy it now. I have to buy some version of it. And once again, if you only bought the physical collector's edition, you are in a way getting punished and being held back from content. And I cannot believe. And yes, is this a typical first world problem? Hell yes, it is. But you got to stop punishing your most loyal players. If someone is willing to plunk down $100 for an expansion, they should not be shut out of any content at all and be forced to spend even more just to see what other people are seeing at the same time so you can be up to the same level. So I don't know what is going on, and you know, I'll throw out the standard caveat. You and I both love Blizzard and World of Warcraft and all of that stuff, and it's in no way prevents me from doing anything, and I guess now I'm going to have to buy a digital version because I'm not going to wait until the launch to play the Battle for Lordaeron, to play through that response, that retaliation for Teldrassil. But I for the life of me, I don't know why they would make this change when never before has there been a situation where we had to wait for the expansion to be purchased in order to do something before the thing actually launches. So I don't know why that decision was made. I don't know. I guess the logic is it's part of the story, but we're already doing the Teldrassil stuff. We're already there, man. So I don't know. This one's got me really flummoxed, I guess is a good word for this, because I cannot understand why they would gate the content like this, and I really wish that in the future they would not do this, that they would figure out a way to ship out the collector stuff first or early or something, because we've already downloaded the game. It's not like I get the CD or DVD, as it turned out, and now I've got it ahead of people or something like that. We're all getting it now at the same time. We're downloading it in the background. So send the stuff out like a couple of days early. I mean, this is just... I'm going to keep doing this, and I'm going to keep playing. I'm not going to sit here and say, I'm never going to play again. Fuck it. I'm not doing that. What I'm saying is that there's got to be a way to do this in a more cohesive fashion that doesn't punish players who are spending more money than anybody else, which at the end of the day, this is a business. It should work that way. You know, it should not be gated out of that content. So, first world problems are a bitch, man.
At first, when you brought this up, I wasn't taking... I was like, okay, we can talk about this, but I didn't see how this was a big deal. And once you said collector's edition, I thought, you didn't get it shipped to your house yet.
Nope.
So I didn't put two and two together till you actually said that. I was like, oh crap, yeah, and it's true. Why hasn't it been shipped yet?
Well, and here's the funny part. Even going beyond that is now how this works out practically. We'll find out later, but the game is scheduled to release originally on that Tuesday, right? But because
actually Monday.
Well, and that's what I'm getting to, is that it was all going to be on that Tuesday, but because they're doing the global launch all at the same time, it's now Monday for us, which means that Amazon, who I delivered it through, or ordered it through probably isn't going to deliver it until Tuesday.
Yep.
So at this point, you got me. I'm going to have to buy the standard edition digitally now anyway.
Or what if you get Amazon to reimburse you for your shipping because they're guaranteed launch day? Doesn't Amazon guarantee your game on launch day?
I'm a white man who lives in the suburbs. You know I have Amazon Prime. I don't pay for shipping. Come on now.
Right. But what I'm saying is they guarantee the same, they guarantee that release day shipping. So if your game happens to release a day prior and you don't have your product in hand, is there something you could do about that?
There could be. I mean, who knows?
Who knows?
You know what? I'm going to be so neck deep in Battle for Azeroth and messing around with the cool Tyrants. I'm not going to care. And that's the beauty of being in a position where you can complain about first world problems. Is at the end of the day, is it really a problem? It's not. It's an inconvenience. I get it. It's just.
Yeah.
I expect so much out of Blizzard has set too high a bar. I expect perfection in all things. And when there's any kind of hiccup, I lose my mind.
Speaking of hiccups.
Yes.
The pre-patch is here.
Yeah. So, how about we close the book on this Rage portion and just say that you got me, Blizzard. I'm going to be buying the digital version of some base value. But yes, let us go into our news now and talk about a problem that not just I had, but many, many players experienced this past week. So the pre-patch is here at last. And it was here, but it was also not here. As on the day that it was scheduled to go live, people experienced mass disconnection issues. And it's one of those things where probably a good thing that they're doing pre-patches and different things so they can kind of figure out the bugs and the problems and the this and the that about new things and getting people all online at one time. And because we all remember Warlords of Draenor, where when they put the garrisons in, I think that was the problem, was like for the first day, plus there was a DDoS attack, I believe. People just could not get in. And there was mass hysteria, dogs and cats living together, the whole thing. With this, we kind of had the same issue, except there was no attack of any kind. It was just, they blew it. And we'll talk about the Q&A that was held later in the week with Ian Hazzikostas, where he admitted, this was not the smoothest launch that they've ever had, and it wasn't the experience they wanted to deliver to players, but it happens,
Yeah.
It's not our first rodeo in dealing with these kinds of things, but I know you and I were both, we're on Twitter, we're on the social medias and the different internet tube things, and I know you saw a fair amount of rage going on out there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, big time. My favorite, I think, was the theory crafting going on behind how you could beat the launcher login, how people were like, oh, if you close out of the launcher, if you close out of the BNet client, and you just go and log in as yourself, and you close one eye and you put your keyboard backwards, it'll let you pass the launcher. And none of that stuff worked. It was just, it was funny. But I wasn't expecting it to be as bad as it was. I thought it would clear up. But after Ian explained that, a lot of stuff with the communities was causing the issue, it made sense. I mean, with everybody logging in at the same time, trying to log in, yeah. I don't necessarily know how they could have tested that even more, other than letting the entire global community into the beta at the same time, just to test communities to see if it would crash there. So I don't know how they would have tested that.
Yeah, unless you had, because one of Blizzard's hallmarks, right, is that they typically will not release something until it's ready. And part of the reason for that is that they test, they do internal testing for however long they're doing it. I don't think we ever really know. And then they throw stuff out to the alpha or beta, testing servers, those kinds of things. But with this, yeah, I don't know if the communities, it's the guild, the community kind of thing, unless you preload, I guess, a bunch of guilds and try to transfer them over, and I'm not quite sure how it works, but clearly it was a problem. It's funny because I've seen a couple of different opinions. One was that people were losing their shit, and then it was like the people telling the people losing their shit to stop losing their shit, and then it was...
That always helps.
Were there people actually losing their shit, or were people just looking to yell at people who they thought were losing their shit? So I don't know if it's real or perceived, I guess, but I definitely saw some people legitimately upset because they couldn't log in.
I was trying to have some fun with the Warcraft the customer service CS Twitter account.
Oh, those poor people.
Listen. I can't log in, and I absolutely know without a shadow of a doubt that I am the only person experiencing this issue. I didn't get a response.
I bet Mike Morheim can play right now. Why can't I? I bet all the streamers get to play. How come I don't get to play? I bet Bajira's already leveling. Where am I at? Yeah.
Give me my free subscription now.
Yeah, I demand
get over yourselves.
13 days of game time.
Cracks me up, man.
I mean, listen, it's part of dealing with a massive online game and honestly, when you think about it, think about all the thousands of times you've logged into Warcraft and it's gone seamlessly without a hitch.
Right.
And
right.
It's kind of to my point earlier, is that they've set such a high bar, such a golden standard for performance, that when stuff doesn't happen the way it's supposed to, when stuff does go sideways, we all lose our shit because we don't know what to do. We're like, this is Blizzard. This isn't supposed to happen. But you know what? It happened. I got in the next day, and I got to play and see what was going on, and it was fine.
And their damage control was good, and good on Ian to just come out and just say, hey, look, it wasn't the smoothest launch, and there was a lot of issues, and we're working to make sure that doesn't happen again in the future. And they took ownership of it. Done. It's a closed chapter. That's it. It happened. It's done, and we move on with our WoW lives.
And maybe you can tell me whether I'm wrong here or not, but I feel like we didn't get that in the past. Like in the olden days,
we had to keep guessing.
There was no dev response. There was no apology tour. There was nothing. There was just, there was a problem with this thing, and now you guys can play, so just go.
Yep.
And
leave us alone. That's it.
Yeah, and now you actually have somebody coming out and saying, hey, listen, guys, we fucked up. And we got it sorted out. We're figuring out the rest of it. We'll roll it out. Our apologies, but, listen, we're human. It's a big-ass game. We'll figure it out. Just go have fun. Again, I think that Warcraft really is coming into a new era. Could there be more transparency? Of course there could be. But when you're drawing from a well that once was dry and there's something coming out of it now, don't complain. Really. Right. I mean, it has been worse. So as far as actually getting in and playing, I did get a chance to jump in and try out what was new with Fury. I was very excited to see with my favorite spec what a Fury Warrior was up to these days, and I was very pleased with the changes that they made, how everything flows. It's still very much a priority system for Fury Warriors in terms of, you hit this, and then you got this, and then you have choices here, and they're actually giving you choices about what you want to do in terms of certain special attacks, whether you want to add some, whether you want passive additions, whether you want active additions. And if you can play these more active style, I think you're going to be rewarded a little bit more if you can handle that type of gameplay. But I was very pleased, and it felt very smooth. I didn't have any issues. I was able to jump into a raid with my team. We got back together for the first time in a couple of months. Ran through just we basically 13-manned and Taurus with one healer.
Wow.
And occasionally somebody swapped and we had two healers a couple of times. But we didn't clear the whole thing, but we finished it. So yeah, it was great to get a chance to jump into a raid and see what was going on with my spec, see what was going on with everybody else's specs, kind of getting everybody's opinion. I know we had a rogue. I don't know what spec he was, but he was blowing up the meters. So,
of course he was.
that was good to see. I remember the old days when we had some pretty badass rogues in our raids, and they were topping the meters like it was nobody's business. So, but it is kind of a weird spot these couple of weeks here because we're super overpowered, it feels like, but we also don't have all of the systems in place, particularly the Azeroth armor and all of that gear, which is coming in a couple of weeks. So we're in sort of a weird limbo. But right now, fun time to jump into raids, and I think they just nerfed the health of Antorus or a couple of the other raids. So at this point, if you haven't seen any of this stuff, you could just blast through it. No problem. I even ran, because I still have the quest for some Trial of Valor gear and collecting like 1,000 souls or gems or trinkets or shards or some shit. I ran through an LFR Trial of Valor, and I think we did it in about 10 minutes. So it's a pretty good time. But you still have to get in there and mess around on your own, don't you?
Yeah, I got in for the first time after the dust settled on Tuesday. I was studying and I was curious, so I logged in just to do all my talents because it's WoW and you want to get in no matter how, no matter what else you're doing. When something new launches, you want to get in there.
The power of a good drug.
Exactly. So I got in there, set my stuff up, and set myself up for war mode, and then I logged out. I messaged you, and you said you were raiding. I asked you how it was going. You said you were loving it, and that was it. So, so yeah, that was my experience with the pre-patch. And then I was able to get in Saturday and just actually start messing around. And I was surprised when I logged into WoW and I opened up the world map and I saw all of the gold quests that you could run around and go do now. Also, something I didn't know was that Blizzard gave all of our tunes the Awakening Essences in our class hall. So you could go up there. Yeah, you could go in there right now and get you can go buy a legendary right now. They give you 1,000 Awakening Essence and a Mythic Keystone. They gave it to everybody across the board. All your tunes.
Where do I get that?
Go back to Skyhold. Go right up to your little chest in Skyhold.
What chest in Skyhold?
Oh my God, you don't run Mythic Plus. That's right. So up in Skyhold, head towards Odin. Head up the steps. Look to your right. There is a chest sitting there.
What?
Open that up. You're going to get 1,000 Awakening Essences and a Mythic Keystone.
Oh,
so you could go buy a legendary item, which was very nice of them.
Sweet.
Yes. Also, I noticed while I was looking at. I'm bad in class. I was looking at Twitter. I saw something come across that said WoW had posted the Chromatic Sword returns. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. I want to go see what, So when I went over there on Saturday and I was taking a look. That place is crowded. That place there's like everybody's just camped there trying to kill this thing.
So for people who don't know what the Chromatic Sword is, tell them what it is.
Okay, so the Chromatic Sword is a sword that drops from Scalebelly in the Cape of Stranglethorn. It's this two-handed sword, and it has this rainbow glow effect to it. So it looks like it almost looks like a lightsaber glow effect to it, and it's really pretty. It's a high-valued BOE, that dropped during Cataclysm or something like that. So it's and also the effect on it is not available with any other transmog effects. So it's highly sought after. What I'm hoping is that the market's going to be saturated with this thing at some point, and it'll just drop the prices on it so people don't have to camp it. And if you do want to camp it, I would suggest going to camp it probably opening day of BFA when everybody's like, oh my God, I got to get into the new stuff. You may
2 a.m. on a Wednesday.
Yeah. He's got a respawn time of like an hour and 3 hours. So it's like time lost proto Drake right there. I mean, it's I don't know if you want to do that.
If I can do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah, I was also testing out war mode because I'm really, really excited about the PvP changes. I was really, really excited about the PvP changes till I encountered a rogue and a ret paladin who happened to be, oh my God, the rogues are back to where they were in vanilla. Like you said, they're back to being the badasses that they were.
Yeah.
And I'm real tempted to take my rogue out for a spin this weekend and go have some fun with them. But besides the rogues, the Ret Paladins, come on, guys. Let's get real here. You guys are untouched right now with... I mean, they're doing so much damage, and they can heal, and they have a... I think this is a very OP class at the moment. So I'm going to cry OP on the Ret Paladins.
It's because this is the class that Chris Metzen plays.
Probably.
He still has a back channel, and he's like, listen, I know I'm gone, but don't you dare touch my Ret Pally.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with War Mode. It's neat running around and doing all the contested stuff. I run around to the Alliance outposts. You know how you have the PvP outposts in right now in Legion. So I run to all the Alliance ones and wait for the Horde there. I do have a rule. I am not one of those assholes. If I see somebody under 110, they're off limits. I don't touch them. They're out there having fun.
That's not the spirit of PvP.
Well, I don't want to...
You're supposed to be bloodthirsty and, slay all your enemies no matter the cost, No conscience.
Well,
or not, I don't know.
All of you PvP. Under 110, you're safe from me at least. I'm not going to touch you out there. So there's that. And then I also logged in and made... I know we're predominantly an Alliance-friendly podcast, but I did go in and make my Horde orc stand upright, which was really cool. I think that's a really neat feature they put in. They also added, in the barber shop, the ability to change your skin tone, which is actually awesome.
I saw that.
So, if you're too pale and you're like, I'm really pale as a warrior, and I spend a lot of my time out in the sun without a helmet on, I should be, should have a little bit of sun, a little bit of sun damage, a little bit of suntan, you can go in and change that stuff, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I a lot of the changes are welcome. You're right. Fury feels really good. Arms, I still got to play with a little bit. Prot, I haven't really played with that. I love tanking, but I do have to play with Prot a little bit more. But, yeah, I mean, so far it's been... for me, it's been okay. I mean, I haven't really tested out any of my other classes that I play, and I have a lot of alts. But yeah, it's enjoyable.
And that's the thing about this time is that they're giving you, it's the whole point of the pre-patch, right? Is you've got a few weeks, maybe a month if they wanted to go that long.
Right.
To really test out and see how does this feel, how does this flow? Because even now, they're still looking for feedback. I mean, it's not like this is all set in stone. Let's go ahead and move on so we can kind of transition into the Q&A a little bit. So there was a Q&A, developer Q&A this last week with Ian Hazzikostas, and to get to the point we're talking about is one of the things that they were talking about is how there are still some tweaks happening. They believe that they have, in terms of class design, the major iterations done of all of the classes and specs and how they want everything to go, but they're still looking for feedback. So again, if you have a bunch of alts like yourself, or if you have a main that you are really, you're good with checking in, okay, this ability, is this doing exactly what it says it should be doing? Are the tooltips right? Does it flow well? All that stuff. If you find something that's off, they're still looking for feedback. So jump in there, test it out, and see what's going on, because this is the time. This is the time for us to kind of reorient, get our bearings, kind of to your thing about the barbershop. I don't know why I do this, because it doesn't really matter, because I'm covered in armor from head to toe 99.9% of the time I play, but I always, for some reason, pick a hair and facial hair style for every expansion. Like, I always change something. So sometimes I give my tuna a haircut. Sometimes I change the beard. Sometimes I make the hair a different color. I mean, I think I've progressively been making him older. Just because I'm getting older. I'm getting more gray in my beard.
My character looks weird with hair. And I just think he looks weird with hair because I don't have any hair. So it's just...
I remember when they first added, because remember there was a big thing when they first added the barbershop and they had all the new hairstyles. And then there's like the one, I think it's called like the foxtail. It's the one that's like super long and you got like all this crap flowing out. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. So when they first instituted that, I think I ran around with that hairstyle on my tune for a long, long time. And then It's progressively been getting shorter to the point where I think now I may have what translates to like the original kind of flat top-ish style. just progressively. But he has like a big long beard now, which, I guess it is really starting to get too reminiscent of me, where I have short hair on top and a long beard. And it's getting a little too close to reality. Back to the developer Q&A. So we had Ian Hazacostas. He touched on a lot of stuff. We're not going to go through all of it because there was a lot of information out there. Some of it, listen, hey, I've always encouraged, go out there, watch the video, see the whole thing, hear it from the horse's mouth. But we're going to touch on a couple of things that we thought were of importance, or things that we thought were interesting or were worth talking about. Because there just was too much to cover in a podcast, and you want to see that, go watch the Wowhead Weekly. We're not going to do that. So, Apology Tour, full effect. Hazacostas went on there and talked about the inability to log into servers on the day that the patch launched. They also talked about some of the tuning in dungeons wasn't quite right, because apparently there were some random abilities that were one-shotting people that probably weren't supposed to be doing that. There were some scalability issues happening related to that because of now we have the stat squish, which is in full effect. You were doing a butt ton of damage before. Now you're doing, a few thousand damage as opposed to hundreds of thousands, or whatever it topped out at. It was a lot. And one of the things that they were talking about was that in the past, and I can't believe they actually did this, they went by hand and did manual squishing for thousands of items.
Yeah.
And this time they tried to do it a little more automated, it sounds like. But, dude, that... Again, I don't know what it's like to be... you're the tech guy here. Maybe you can answer this for me better, but that sounds like some programming hell.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got your classes, and you've got all these abilities. Trying to balance all of that, and then having to do that all manually. Sure, you can run some batch scripts to do it across the board, but I think that's where all the jokes came up with how there used to be an old PvP chart, or there was an old chart about how buffs and nerfs happened, and it was just up and down, up and down, up and down for like warriors just constantly. It looked like a shifter on a vehicle. It's just like how they would. But yeah, I mean, now the way they are doing it now is they've made all the numbers. They're happy with the numbers that they have for all the classes, and now they can go, let's lower the damage on everybody about 10 to 15%, and they can put that in. It'll do it across the board now. And then they can tune a little bit if they see something out of the way, and they still have the ability to go in there and do the single tuning and things like that, which they're probably going to have to do for Ret Pallies, because fuck you guys at the moment. But
easy, Tiger.
Yeah. I know.
Tell us how you really feel.
I know we're dealing with pre-patch stuff, and I know everything.
Man, they must have really done
120.
something wrong to you out there in the open.
I'm wailing on this guy. This guy jumps me out while I'm doing a thing, and I'm just throws a bubble up. I can't do any damage to him. It's just constant, and I'm like, I'm not scratching this guy. So that's where we're at. But anyway, I digress. We're back to the percentage. So they went from the single, by hand, everybody going, hey, let's work on rogues today, to now we could just adjust the damage across the board, which is good. We're always going to need to have that stat squish, because the numbers, they get out of hand. Every 2 or 3 expansions, the numbers are going to get out of hand.
Yeah.
And we'll see it again. So just get used to it. That's the way of life. That's what we live. That's our game. So.
And that was definitely one of the things that Ian talked about, was the fact that, and they've said this a few times, they don't really have a more elegant solution other than to do the stat squishes, because power progression is just part of the game. I mean, every time you go into a new raid, it's, however many eye level, 13 eye levels or whatever it is, higher. And there has to be some kind of reward for doing raiding, for doing all these quests. The gear that you get has to have some substantial difference between tiers to make it meaningful. And when you look at however they do these things in terms of, X boss has this health and these abilities and it does this damage, and then this is the kind of gear that counteracts it and helps you up to a certain point. And when you do all the math on these things, at some point it just continues to ramp up, and so instead of that steady curve, it just starts shooting straight up at the sky.
It honestly would be real interesting. It interests the hell out of me on the back end and the development side of the game. Like if they did a documentary of how they have their meetings. Like I would love to be able to see how their meeting happens. I would love to sit down at one of the developers' desks and just see, okay, look, today we're working on mages, and here's their list of abilities, and we're going to we figured out that this ability does way too much damage. We're going to scale back. This is how we do it. I could sit there and watch that for hours on end. But that's just me. And
they're very secretive about those things, and probably because if they ever open that up,
right, yeah,
people would start yelling at whoever was involved. And I get that, and I think Ian's a good example of this, where right now, as the developer doing these Q&As, like he's the face, right? That he's
right,
because he's in charge of the game. But I mean, he's the game director, I think. But he's not the only person working on the thing. I mean, you have teams. You have a huge team of people that's doing this.
They do checks and balances with that, yeah.
And I feel like he's also kind of their shield in a sense, where there are those meetings clearly that go on. There's people working on these things, but we don't necessarily know who or what. And it's because, I believe, if nothing else, because the vitriol that comes out of our community at times is pretty bad when it comes to why did you do this to my class? Fuck you fucking bastard.
Yep.
And it's just whoa, like
that guy owns that class. Obviously, he is so mad because that is his class. He's the only guy who plays that. Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that Ghostcrawler was single-handedly responsible for the rise and fall of every class at one point, and that poor guy. There's people who still think he's responsible, and he's been over at Riot now for God knows how many years. I mean, he's been gone for like 5 years, and it's still his problem.
God damn it, Greg.
Yeah, like, where's my pony? It's just... I really appreciate what Ian does at the very least, but...
Yeah.
And as part of the Stat Squish, too, he brought up something that I thought probably wouldn't be a very popular idea, but it is an interesting idea, which is that in sharing some of the insight about how they think about these things is that, yes, the stat squishing is something that we're probably going to be seeing on a routine basis every couple of expansions unless they figure something else out. And one of the things that he said that they've talked about is doing a level squish. So instead of going through and, scaling down all of this stuff and doing all these various things, you would go from, say, being a level 120 to the next day you log into pre-patch and you're a level 70 again.
Ugh.
And that was the example that they gave. And your response to that is the reason why they probably aren't going to do that is because people are going to look at that and go, well, that doesn't feel good because I was level 70 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, that's exactly it.
Even though it's meaningless. Numbers in the game at the end of the day, it's all relative, man. Like it's 70, 120, hell, 200, 1,000. I mean, it's all relative. It doesn't really mean it. I remember when people used to say, well, when WoW gets to level 100, that's going to be the end of the game. Like, why? Why would that be the end of anything?
Right.
That doesn't make any sense. So I get what he's saying, but do you think that could be a viable solution?
Man, I don't know, because the minute you said that, I was just like, ugh, that doesn't sound good. Because I don't like I'm one of those people that I don't like doing things over and over and over again. So if I was 120 and then they put me back, that's part of the reason why I don't play alpha and beta all that much, because I don't like having to redo things over and over again. But anyway, I digress. So I don't know how they would do that, and it just wouldn't feel right to me. What would feel right though is maybe instead of going 10 levels, we go 5 levels or something like that, and make the experience bar be that of, or the points that you need to gain the 1 to 5 be the equivalent of what we're doing currently to 1 to 120 or 110 to 120. So maybe they could slow us down doing smaller, incremental leveling points instead of just scaling us back, like just chopping levels off of us altogether. I'm okay with the item level squish. I don't know if I'd be okay with the level squish or the level reversal, if that would be. So
Well, and to the example that you're giving, the specific thing that he was referencing was that imagine being a new player and seeing that you have to get to level 120 now.
Oh my God, I know.
It looks very daunting.
It and you know what it is, because I was leveling. I made, like I said, I've been toying with this other orc warrior, and to me, I'm just like, man, I want to see the story, but I'm just thinking about freaking boosting this guy, because I don't necessarily know if I want to take the time and the effort to do 110 levels on this thing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, okay, so I do see the point there. So I just, yeah.
I guess it's the risk reward. How many new people do you think you're going to get versus how many players that are current are you going to alienate? Like, listen, I'm not going to quit over something like that. I probably won't stop playing this game until I die or until they shut it down. I mean, I'm just kind of invested at this point where it's goddamn, it's part of my life now. I mean, I don't know if I can ever stop playing this stupid game.
That's what was brought up, and we'll segue into it, but that's what was brought up in the Polygon thing. People grew up playing this game.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I'm with you. I probably won't stop playing. It's the only game I really play on a daily basis anymore. So,
yeah, and to what you're referencing there was I thought a pretty good Polygon article that was put out this week that, we obviously have a lot of praise for Warcraft. We love World of Warcraft. We live it, breathe it, the whole thing. But we also know, you and I are also self-aware enough to know that, we're kind of in an ecosphere in that sense. So
yes,
it's nice to get a little independent verification every once in a while. And, I just say it's probably a good general rule for life, just to step outside your own ecosphere and get a little independent verification of things from time to time. But for us, and I know that Polygon has a friendly relationship with Blizzard, and they get a lot of insights and exclusives and all that kind of stuff. But the point that the article was making was that if you're a new player, or if you're an existing player, there are rewarding styles of gameplay, no matter whether you are new, old, hardcore, casual, whatever it is. And they go through and kind of talk about some of the changes that were made in Legion, some of the changes that are coming in Battle for Azeroth, and highlighting why, as you and I have said, the game is in the best place that it has been in a very long time, if not ever. And I thought it was a pretty good read.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Going back to the Q&A, one of the other things that I thought was kind of hilarious that they talked about, because you can't avoid it at this point, is the lore going into the Battle for Azeroth expansion, specifically regarding the Horde and the path that they may or may not be on. And they have said, and by they I mean Blizzard, has said several times that things are not always as they seem. That whatever's happening with the Horde and Sylvanas and Teldrassil and even the responsatory battle for Lordaeron is not exactly what it seems, because on the surface, it looks like Sylvanas burned down Teldrassil and the Alliance is getting up on the horse, going over to Lordaeron and saying, hey, not cool, man. We're going to have to do something about this. But they keep telling us, they're telling the Horde folks, don't get down, don't worry. It's okay to be upset because, it doesn't look quite right now, but it's going to come around, or there's something you'll find out, or it'll make sense later, or, all of the core tenets of the Horde about being this, honorable group and, doing its thing, that's still there, and that's still, all this high-minded stuff. Man, I'm telling you, I have my doubts. I mean, listen, is it possible that the forces of the Alliance, maybe Gen Greymane and his buddies at SI7, could burn down Teldrassil and make it look like what they call on the internet a false flag attack? It's possible, but I don't think Blizzard's going to go there.
No, I think they're going more old god reasons with Teldrassil.
Well, and this was actually, again, I know we do a podcast here, but I'll be the first to tell you I don't know everything about Warcraft, and I think that typically we're trying to learn as we go too. I actually didn't know up until the day before launch that the Teldrassil stuff wasn't until this coming week. I thought that this was going to happen last week, so I actually was getting all jazzed up to come on this week and do the show and be like, oh, here's what happened to Teldrassil.
Right.
And it doesn't happen until next week. So on our next show, which will be right when Battle for Azeroth launches, we're going to talk about all this Teldrassil order on the whole schmear, because yes, I'm going to buy the fucking edition so I can play the thing. You got me! Yes, we're going to do the whole thing, so we'll talk about it next time, but I am very curious to see how they're going to get themselves out of the corner they've painted themselves in, because Sylvanas just looks bad, man. Yeah. She looks bad, and you've got the Horde fighting on her behalf. Right. I don't know. I mean, have you seen anything? Do you know anything?
I already went through the two storylines in beta. Okay. So yeah, I so I know what's going to happen.
All right, so we're saving it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and again, I think we've talked about here a few times. We know we're going old god somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just kind of a matter of time, it feels like. I don't know. We've talked about this before. I'm just kind of thinking about this off the cuff. Do you feel like Battle for Azeroth is a filler expansion for some kind of old god expansion? Or do you think that we'll get like old god stuff and this will feel like a really full expansion? Like based on everything that you've seen, now that we're like right up knocking on the door.
Well, I have a feeling this is ramping up to be kind of like the storyline we got with Wrath of the Lich King. We started out with Arthas, and then it got more in depth with the storyline when we went into Ulduar, and then eventually we battled the Lich King. I think we're going to it's going to be a combination of Old God and the story more, developing more of the story with Azeroth as the, as a Titan. Mm-hmm. We live in Azeroth, but there's got to be some sort of form to Azeroth, and I'm sure at some point we'll be able to see that form. And but yeah, I think we're gearing up to have a full blown Old God expansion again, and I think it's going to be on the grander scale of things, and we haven't even scratched the surface. What they've given us with all of this, the burning of Teldrassil, Lordaeron, and then they're giving us the leveling experience, the storyline of the Colterans and the Zandalari stuff on the other side, on the flip side. It's all building up to a grander story, and I can't wait to see what happens in future patches, because I don't think we've scratched the surface of what the story is. And like you said, I mean, I heard the theories of Greymane burning down Teldrassil, but there's stories of Teldrassil being corrupted during Classic, and they thought Teldrassil was fully cleansed of the corruption, but I don't think it was, and it'll go on from there. So, and then we also have Bolvar as the Lich King now. So,
which, by the way, I finally finished the class order hall of the Death Knight
Oh, nice.
Order hall campaign.
Yeah.
Holy crap!
I need to go finish it then. I'm going to go do that today.
So good.
Okay, I'll go finish it today.
Like it won't take you long. You'll have to do a couple of dungeons. But man, it is so good. It really is satisfying, and it's one of those things where I kind of wish I'd played. Not that I had the time to, but I kind of wish I'd played a few more alts just to kind of see some of the other ones that we're going through. But I don't know if they could have beaten that Death Knight one, because the culmination of that thing, the way that it ends, like the last kind of two legs of that, are just the implications that they have are enormous. So I'm really not sure how that plays out going forward. But the Lich King is up to some shit, man. Like he's not just sitting up there taking a snooze.
Right.
Like, he's up to something, and something's going to happen at some point. I am fully on board for Lich King Electric Boogaloo Part 2. It's coming.
Right.
I'm telling you. Like, it has to. There's just no way. Oh, man. So, one other thing that I wanted to talk about from the Q&A before we jump on to our last announcement, because we have an announcement to make, are the solo challenges. It's regarding the solo challenges, and something that Ian Hasekostas had mentioned, and I think I've seen this a few other places, is that the team itself over there, the Warcraft team, is very interested in continuing to do solo content challenges in the vein of the Mage Towers. And you and I have talked about the Mage Towers. I only did the Fury one. It was the only one I could do and had patience for. I know you actually did several others. How many did you end up with at the end of the, I guess, Legion cycle?
I think it's 7. I think because I did 3 on the Warrior. I did 8. I did 3 on the Warrior, 1 prop Paladin. I did the Feral and the Guardian Druid, and then both of my Demon Hunter, and that's it. I think that's it. So 7 or 8.
And so did you have to experience all of the various challenge versions that there were?
I did not. No, I tried the Ret one and I couldn't get past it. I didn't have enough. I don't think I had enough gear or the know how to play a Ret Paladin to do it. The protection or the tank challenge was the same across the board, so I had experience doing that one. So it wasn't too difficult. And I believe the only 2 that I didn't get the tank on were my Death Knight and the Monk. But I wasn't a big Monk or Death Knight player at the time, so I didn't really care about that. The Mage, the one with I forget what it's called, but the Imp Mother. I did the Imp Mother. That was the same as Feral and as Fury.
Yep.
And then I did the one where I forget. It's just the mage at the top of the tower, and you'd go through and at the end you'd fight a demon. I forget what it was called, but those were the only 3 mage towers that I actually accomplished. And the Vicryl one, I couldn't get past it because I didn't understand it and I didn't know how to play a Ret Paladin. So yeah, but I enjoyed the solo challenges, and I did my Prot Warrior one when the Mage Tower came out initially. So I didn't overpower that one. I was actually doing it when it was, when it was newer content and it was
nice.
Very, very challenging. So it was, the solo challenges to me, they are fun. They're aggravating. It'll bring out the rage in you, which is, sometimes good. But yeah, I find them fun.
Yeah, I had to wait until almost literally the last minute to be able to outgear it. And you sent me the video, which ended up giving me the greatest hint. Whatever of all time, which was getting that. The heirloom.
Yeah, the heirloom trinket. Yeah,
the heirloom trinket, the Grand Tooth War Horn. Is that what it was?
That's
where
what it
it gave you the 10% damage boost against demons,
and you just melted them.
Yeah, because of the continuous imp rotation that they had, you just kind of kept that thing ticking and kept it rolling, and so. Yeah, I did a couple, and I was like, what am I missing here? And then I went and I watched that video that you sent me, and they're like, use this thing. And I blasted. I had 2 attempts. I got it.
Yeah, nice.
I was like, this is easy. So, yeah, I've said before, I love solo content just because I like being able to do things on my own time without having to corral a bunch of people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, just because I enjoy a challenge up to a point. I'm just a story guy. I like seeing the story. So if there's quest lines like the old warrior quest line to get Berzerker stance, my namesake stance, way back in the day when you had to go out to the islands, and that's when you got to that's way old, when you got to see Varian back in a dungeon when he was kidnapped and mindless and whatever, and I don't know, stuff going on way out there. I liked all that kind of stuff. That's where the class order hall issues were, where the class order hall quests were kind of nice because you felt like it was, pertained to you. But we'll see. And I hope that they do continue to pump out individualized content just to add another flavor. Last but not least, you and I have a little announcement to make. In that next week, you and I will be appearing on The Converted, which is a show, a podcast and streaming show that I have appeared on a few times. It's been a while, but I've been on there a few times. A show that you actually used to co-host.
Yeah.
And you and I are being brought on next week on Monday, the 30th. So if you want to see our mugs live and in person, this will be your chance to do it. And for the folks that may not quite remember or may not know at all, why don't you tell us a little bit about your history with this fine program and what it is?
Yeah, so The Converted is a show about the guild Convert to Raid. If you're not familiar with Convert to Raid is a mega guild on Airy Peak, US. We have about 700 to 800 active players in the guild and thousands of characters. So, I mean, we're dealing with a lot of tunes in this guild, and it's all, the back end, it's all configured with an add-on called Greenwall. It links all the guilds together, and we all chit-chat, and we're able to chat across all the guilds. The Converted is a podcast about that guild and the people in the guild and all the guild happenings and things like that. So that old feeling that you had when Classic came out and your guild was a big deal and it was all about community and you throw on events and things like that, you get that with this guild, basically. And on top of that, you will be able to find a lot of raid teams. So anyway, what The Converted does is they do a podcast, and they'll bring on a guest every week, and they talk about, the guest, their raid team. They go on about, and then they'll continue on to discuss about, the raid team accomplishments, and, it's a celebration about the guild. And I was actually invited to be a co-host on the show on episode 23. And I was with that podcast a little over a year and a half till episode 65. Belschnickel was actually hosting the show in the earlier episodes, and then he asked me if I would take over doing hosting the show, and he showed me how to do the show. So I would host the show up on I was using XSplit at the time. We would all get in Skype. I basically did the back end engineering things, and Sal was in charge of all the show notes, and we would do a show, and that's basically what I did on the show. I would host the show, and then I would post the show. I would host and post. I'd host the show on Twitch, export it to YouTube, export it to an audio file, upload it to our webpage, and go from there. And that's what we would do. And I had a lot of fun doing that. It was a very good experience.
Until they unceremoniously fired you.
No, actually, I had to take a break because I was doing, how in life you do a little too much of everything and you need to cut back on some things, and that's basically what, I had to scale back some of the things I was doing. So
that's pretty much been my relationship with cocaine, I guess. Yeah. Well, good for you. Good for you. And I'm sure that it'll be a welcome homecoming.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun with Sal and Barf and Turarts, and yeah.
I've seen Echelon has also been on there recently.
That's right. Echelon's the raid report guy. He's actually one of my raid team leads. But yeah, Echelon will be on there. So yeah.
All right. Well, I myself have been on The Converted a handful of times. I was on episode 20, episode 36, and episode 67. So if you watch those three and then you see me on Monday, you'll see how progressively older and fatter I've become. And you'll see a progression of age. So that'll be a blast for me. But I was on originally to talk about my raid team, still current raid team. And I was on episode 36, I believe, to talk about and collect on a bet that was made. And that was where Sal unleashed upon the world the Ballad of Berzerker, which you can still find on YouTube. And then on episode 67, I believe I was back for some recruiting and also announcing this show.
Yeah.
I announced this show, that I would be launching this show, and then I haven't been back on since. So since episode 67, we'll be on episode, I believe, 133. So I don't know why I was banned for those many years. It's probably because of that time that I cursed and I made Belschnickel's hair turn gray. and he had to do a bunch of editing because I said that my video was fucking awesome, and then the shock and awe on his face, and I forgot I forgot my place. I'm sorry, I forgot where I was, and I got really excited, and so I suppose I'll have to watch my language on Monday.
Oh, I think we'll talk to Sal. Sal, you have to let us know.
I have to see. I'll try to be on my best behavior. I promise. I promise. But we were asked to come back on, talk about a little bit of BFA pre-launch stuff. Maybe we'll get into some lore, a few other things.
Yeah.
And talk some trash, do our thing. Just have a good time. So next week on The Converted, July 30th, if you want to see us live and in living color, that'll be a chance. So come on in. I know they have a chat room. They do the whole Twitch thing and all that jazz. So come on, ask some questions. I know I'll be watching for questions. So if there's anything you want to know, you'll have my undivided attention mostly, as there'll be 15 other people in the channel all streaming at the same time. So looking forward to that. So I think that about wraps it up for this week's episode. Other than this fine program, where can the good people find you on the internet, Navox?
You could always follow me out on Twitter. I am at NAV_OX.
As for me, you can always find me on Twitter at Berzerker Rage. Feel free to contact this show with your questions, comments, or otherwise at unshackledfuryshow@gmail.com. And you can always find the show on SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. So once again, thank you for listening. Remember to keep your swords wet and your banners high, and we'll catch you next time. Farewell.